Hey guys, B.O.L.T here. I'm really tired, but I do need to get this done. Part 3, also known as Stardust Crusaders. I alluded to it yesterday, but I just ended up doing a re-summary of Part 1 and 2. That way we're up to date. I have all the episodes up here just in case I forget one. So anyways, go back to yesterday's extra video for Saturday, and you'll understand the timeline up to now. Anyways, I believe we ended with the fact that Joseph had a daughter named Holly. Holly went on to have get married to Jojo, which I think I was doing Akinator earlier, and it was like Saduku or something like that. It's an S, and ended up having a kid, and the father's overdoing jazz or something, and he's stuck being the man of the house and ends up being a delinquent here in part 3. Anyways, the start of this is basically Dio is awakened. He is somehow in the chest, even though instead of bringing back the chest and exploring it in the Speedwagon Foundation, they somehow just dump the chest into the sea after rescuing Arena from part 1. They bring Dio up from the bottom of the sea. He's in the very bottom of that. He was able to successfully take Jonathan's head off and make his body his own. And basically, Jonathan's body through this entire part is sending error signals through the entire Joestar bloodlines. Basically, they're all connected by that star mark on the back of their neck, and it's just sending emergency signals out. So Joseph basically gets the sense and understanding of actually all of the Joestar bloodline has an understanding that Dio exists, and Dio understands that they exist. And basically Dio goes around trying to find power beyond his vampiric abilities. That way he can't be taken down Haman in case there's an Haman user out there. Anyways, he finds the thing known as a stand arrow, stabs himself with it, and starts to gain a stand ability, which is basically your fighting spirit come as a ghost. And he gains the world, and we'll go over it eventually, how its abilities. Basically, they gain an ability. While Dio gains the world ability, Jonathan's actual body has Purple Hermit, which also ends up being Joseph's stand, and basically they have spirit captures. Basically, the closer to the target they are, the more stronger and easier to understand the image. And also can warn the user of problems. So he's able to take a picture of Dio having the same kind of connection with him, understands that Joseph just took a picture of him, and knows of their existence and that they're on their way. Then let's see. Joseph gets in contact with a user who understands the concept of stands and was born with a stand, because there's people who are born with them, and there's people who just need either an activation or getting stabbed by the arrow. In a way, Muhammad Avdal, who's an Indian, I believe. I think he's from the general area of India, and he's basically come to help Joseph in this adventure because he was actually hunted down by Dio, and he was lucky to survive. And he was trying to make Avdol a part of his army. And Avdol has Magician's Red, which is actually a basically fire um, stand, and its ability is to like do a extreme, like I think they said something close to the sun is what is his special ability. Um, anyways, he Abdul names the stands of the main characters, and the first half there's part 2A and part 2B. But part 2A is basically every villain and user at that point is named after a tarot card. I think it's the magician is for Abdul, the hermit is for Joseph, and Jotaro gains star. I think it is the star platinum. I think it might actually be just star platinum. Anyways, like I said, when Dio gets stabbed, Jonathan's body is reacting to it. Holly gains a stand, but of course, of her pure nature, her body is technically not ready for a fighting spirit, and it fights against her, making her have illness, which ends up making her into like a slightly comatose kind of state where she's in and out. And then, of course, Jotaro gains Star Platinum, which is a precision slash brute kind of stand. And episode 1 is known as a man possessed by the evil spirit, which is basically Jotaro notices that something's changed. He notices this spirit, and he says he's been possessed by this spirit. He's beaten several people. The spirit has beaten several people for his reasoning, and the spirit actually tries to take care of him by bringing him stuff that he wants. And Abdul and Joseph come to Japan, basically talk to him about the spirits and understand it. Then let's see here. And then who will be the judge? So the next day, basically, Jojo tries to live a normal life. In episode 2 of Who Will Be the Judge. Episode 3 is The Curse of Dio. Let's see here. Oh, wait. Do we seriously skip the understanding of Kakuin? Episode 3 is The Curse of Dio. Assassin by Dio takes the man back to... Okay, so in The Curse of Dio and Who Will Be the Judge, we meet Noriyaku Kakuin, who is actually the same age as Jotaro, but is also another born into stand ability with Hierophant Green, another tarot card. And he's basically a ranged slash. He's actually a very overpowered one, where basically he can send vines and use them to control parts and all that. And basically he's able to learn that there's a flesh bud of Dio in his head, which a flesh bud is basically a cell of Dio's that is meant to control or threaten or even kill someone that he has come in contact with. And basically it's you do my bidding or you die. Or he actually lets them do the action and then just kill him anyways. And Kakuin didn't have friends, and Dio said, I'll be your friend, but I need you to do this for me. Go kill these people for me. Anyways, Jotaro uses his precision, takes out the flesh bud, and brings Kakuin back to the house, heals up, and by this, Kakuin actually commits to the adventure of helping defeat Dio, because his reign needs to end. And then I believe episode 4 is the Tower of Grey. And basically, at this point, we learn that Holly's infected, They have to rush within, I think it's a month and a half or something like that, or almost 2 months. They have almost 2 months to do this. They get on a plane to start heading to Egypt, which, from one of the spirit photos Hermit Purple gave them, there is an Egyptian fly in the very background. Anyways, the Tower of Grey is another stand user who actually uses a bug to go around and like assassinate quietly within the plane and makes it like I think it's like most of these stands are like within the stand community are very powerful, and the Tower of Grey is like an assassin who makes it look like a heart attack or something. And they end up crashing. Then they go into a town, try to eat. They meet Jean Pierce Polnareff, who is actually their next person, who is the stand user of Silver Chariot, which is basically a sword user who can take off his armor to make him faster, but he's vulnerable. But he's very fast in this state. And Avdol goes to teach him a lesson, basically. We meet Dark Blue Moon, which is by a sailor. They go on a personal boat. The captain ends up being a stand user who uses a water-based stand, and once you get into the water, it's supposed to be over. He's able to make like whirlpools to take out your oxygen and just slice you up fast. And they meet one of the come-alongers. She's supposed to be a replacement for Smokey, but basically she's useless in most of these stories. She's supposed to be a replacement Smokey / that kid that Jonathan saves at the end of part 1. Then right after that, they come aboard a giant freighter known as but this episode 7 is known as Strength. This ends up being a giant ape's stand known as Strength, which is just ape is super damn strong and very intelligent, and this ship can run without a crew, and it can bend to the ape's will, basically. Episode 8 is Devil. They arrive in Singapore. That girl goes on her own. Basically, she was there to be rescued by Jojo, be this bandit kind of character, then almost get like sexually assaulted by the ape. Then she leaves in 3 episodes, and then let's see. I believe the devil was basically he goes into Polnareff goes to his hotel room, and this guy with a stand user is able to like run around the room to where it's like he's basically like an assassin, like a very quick assassin. That's really it. Once Polnareff was able to see where he was able to kill him. Episode 9 was Yellow Temperature. Basically, a guy is able to replace Kakuing as Kakuing went to go relax in a pool. And it's basically like he puts slime on you, and it slowly is like an acid and starts to melt you. And the more you fight back and the more you do this, the more you do that, it grows and expands. Then let's see, episode 10, the Emperor and the Hanged Man, basically a duo of stand users. There's one who can actually do a close-ranged pistol, and then there is the Hanged Man, who ends up being Polnareff's background, and he's able to travel through a reflective surface, and he's able to redirect Actually, I think it's trying to remember the guy's name. Um, Whole Horse. Whole Horse. That's his name. Whole Horse. Whole Horse. The Emperor is his gun, basically. And the Hanged Man. We'll go back over his story real quick. So he's a double left-handed person who likes to murder people, and he murdered Polnareff's little sister. And this is basically why Polnareff joined the team in the first place, was to hunt down this person and avenge his sister. Then there's part 2. Polnareff is able to win against the Hanged Man, and without the Hanged Man, Whole Horse can't do anything, basically. Then we run into the Empress in episode 12, which is basically Whole Horse was able to swool a Nia or something like that, and she has the Empress, which is basically, I think, she puts a bit of flesh on someone, and that flesh can fight back, grow, and is it basically a parasite off the person, and attaches it to Joseph, and eventually Joseph is able to smart the parasite and kill off Nina. And then the mother of Hanged Man is like the advisor to Dio, and she has the Wheel of Fortune, and she's able to create an illusion-based environment, and she's able to puncture a hole through someone and then control them from there, like a puppet. So she takes a town in Pakistan and controls that whole town like zombies, and she tries to take on Polnareff. Else than his tongue, she doesn't get to do anything much. And they're able to knock her out and try to do something to get, and they're gonna wait for her to become conscious to get information out of her. Then we have Justice Part 1 and Part 2, which is episode 14 and 15. Let's see here. Okay, so I believe Part 1 and Part 2 is actually looks like Parts 1 and 2 is actually the Wheel of Fortune's actual usage. Whole Horse is still alive at this point, and unlike the others who have been either forced to retirement or are dead, he's actually running about still. Then there's Lovers Parts 1 and 2. Oh, Dan of Steel. Before they can get information out of Inabe, she has a flesh bud that kills her. And then we meet the Lovers, which is basically just if the user gets hurt, the person that they attached their ability to gets hurt worse, or like it stacks. Then right after that, there's the Sun, which is basically just someone hides behind this mirrored image in the desert, and they try to put an actual close-up sun to try to overheat the Crusaders, but of course they're eventually able to notice that there's a rock that's very similar in the distance. Let's go ahead and just throw a rock and knock them out. Then we have Death 13's parts 1 and 2, which is basically they tried to rent a plane from someone. And basically, there's a baby that was supposed to be that's in dire need of a hospital. They take the baby with them, but it ends up not being connected to anyone from that little place. It's just a random baby that came out of nowhere. It ends up being a baby stand user that has Death 13 as its user, and as its stand, and it's basically a Freddy Krueger. Whatever happens in dreams happens in real life, and the only way for you to actually wake up is by someone actually waking you up. It's not you can't personally sleep because it basically keeps you in a bind. Unless someone else shakes you awake, you're asleep. And basically you get like an amnesia of the dream. It's like a quick gone. Eventually Kakyoin is able to remember the dream via using, I think, actually how like their stand works is they have to have the stand out before they go to sleep. That way it comes into the dream with them. And basically the baby gets given to the hospital. Judgments parts 1 and 2. Basically a genie-like stand is on this little island the Crusaders go on to recap Avdol's little mishap. He pulls a Glenn from The Walking Dead, and during the Hanged Man and Emperor story, he gets shot in the head but ends up getting grazed, and he needs to recover because it is by like a shock. Also, like I think he did get a little brain damage, but he did need to recover, so they act like he's dead. Then he ends up being sent to this island for recovery, and basically this the judgment is like, Polnareff, you're being selfish about just being there for this guy who killed your sister. I'll give you a chance to be selfish one more time, and it's gonna have consequences. So he tries to ask this genie stand to bring back Avdol and his sister, and they end up being like zombies that just start nabbing at his flesh. Avdol, of course, comes out of hiding and just smokes them all. Polnareff comes to the rest of them and makes the connections, and everyone else literally knew except for Kakyoin and Polnareff, but of course they didn't want it out and about that he was still alive so he can heal. The High Priestess, they go underwater in a submarine, and they end up getting a stand user that the High Priestess ends up just being like this person that can move around and make their own like metal slash. They can make their stand into anything that's like a metal, like a material base. And it's just another showing off Star Platinum is quick and super strong, that even teeth that are as strong as platinum can get punched out. Then we end up meeting the final member of the Stardust Crusaders, and the beginning of Part B is Iggy the Fool and Jib Endol, which is basically a blind slash Dollar Tree Avdol who uses like a tentacle like thing, and it travels through like shadows and sands and all that. And it's basically, this guy has learned it like echolocation kind of sense, where he can hear and kind of visualize what things are happening. And then Iggy, which is a dog stand user who's rude as hell, but only will calm down if you give him coffee flavored gum. He's easily able to sniff out Endol And Jojo notices this and tries to put him in the plan. Iggy's one of the okay. So everyone before Endall, Iggy and Dio and all the Stardust Crusaders are technically tarot cards. I don't believe Polnareff is, but that's how Part A is. And they're just gonna throw the Fool in, which is Iggy's stand, which is just a construction of sand that can morph into anything he wishes, which means he can also do things like flight and all that, structures to save him. Then let's see, right after that we have the Wongy Boingy brothers in episode 27. Before I really quickly say this is that during Endall he's able to get to Kakyoing's eyes and cut him, so he had lost his sight. The Ongy Boingies in episode 27 is basically just the little brother who can predict by a comic, and the older brother who can just do whatever he wants with his face to make him fit. He's basically an alternate from Mandela Catalog. And basically they try to go by what the comic says. It ends up being they can blow up Jojo with what they want to do, but it ends up being the older brother, because the older brother disguises himself as Jojo for the explosion to happen. And then we have Anubis parts 1 and 2, which is basically a sword that can possess it. A sword stand user that basically, if you hold it, it possesses you, and Farmer gets a hold of it. Then Polnareff is able to knock him out, take the sword. Double sword stand user. A barber is able to get a hold of it beforehand, but that's really it for Anubis. Jotaro is able to just cut his blades down and throw his handle into the ocean to where he will never be found. Bassett's Maria. Basically, this is just like a very foxy woman. Is able to like put an outlet. If you touch this outlet, it magnetizes you, and the stronger you are to the user, the stronger the magnet is to them, to the person they did the outlet to. Sets Elise, which is basically this weirdo who can turn you into a kid. He hates kids. So he turns Polnareff into a kid. When you turn into a kid, you forget your memory. He finds this fine woman, turns her into a fetus, tries to kill her, and the kid, Polnareff, is able to hide the woman away, escape, meet up with Jojo. He gets turned into a kid, and even though Jojo gets turned into a kid, he's able to punch the crap out of them. They get turned back into adults and beat the more crap out of them. And then of course, the woman has one of Polnareff's earrings, and they walk away like they're supposed to be destined lovers. Darby the gambler, which ends up just being the guy who's able to gamble with souls. He, like Joseph, is able to cheat at stuff. Polnareff is too hasty and they're trying to get information about this, like the little, they learn of where Dio is and have a picture, but no one recognizes it. They go to a bar where he's bought everyone out, and he's the only one who can give him information. So Polnareff is too hasty, gets his soul captured. Joseph is believes he can hack the system, but of course, Darby is able to cheat his way into the game, but it's too late to notice, so Joseph loses the game. And then Jojo jumps in and basically he bets his Abdul, Kakyoin, and his mother's soul. And he basically sweats him out into winning the cards. Then there's Whole Horse and the little brother of the Only Boingies. They try to come back, but Whole Horse gets the bad end of it, and the little brother's like, they're too good of a dude. His fate's on their side. I'm not gonna do anything with them. I want to be good after this. The Guardian of Hell pet shop, which ends up being a bird with a stand, and his stand is a huge ice elemental that can cut you into pieces or freeze you solid. And it is a nasty, like, vulture kind of bird, too. And it's basically fighting Iggy. Iggy loses a paw from it. But Kakyoin comes back from his eyesight problem, and the Speedwagon Foundation is able to put bandages over him and help him out a little bit, so they can start heading to the place Dio is, because Iggy, before getting attached to Pet Shop, found it out. And because of this, losing his paw, he might as well help them, and he's pissed. And then we meet Darby the player. So the younger brother of the previous Darby is a gamer, and basically he's able to pull Kakyoin, Joseph, and Jojo into a separate realm to play games. Kakyoin is the pro gamer, but he misses some of his chances, and he doesn't practice and have nothing but game to life. So Darby's able to take a shortcut that was known to be impossible unless you did it several times to do it precisely, and that's how he wins. And basically, kind of like how Darby's able to have like a poker chip soul collection, he has a soul doll collection. And then Jotaro is able to fake out by just acting like his hat is doing something on top of the TV, where it's actually Joseph using his Herbert Purple to play the game and actually win it for them. Then let's see, Misa. So Cool Ice Part 1 and 2. Basically, it's a guy who's able to turn himself into a black hole by eating himself, and it's basically like a darkness void, where basically if you get touched, it just gets pulled into a darkness. So if you get separated by your body, you're dead. And he vows ultimate appreciation to Dio, and Dio actually grants him eternal life by giving him some vampire blood. So through the 2 episodes, he's actually turning into a vampire. He quickly makes quick work of Abdul by just going right through him and leaving nothing but his arms. But Abdul is able to basically, I think, uppercut or use Magician's Red real quick. Iggy gets beaten up a lot. Like, he gets drop kicked a lot. So he's like losing blood from his paw, and he's got all these broken bones now. He uses the last little bit of his strength to save Polnareff from this swirling void of B.O.L.T. And so we lose Iggy and Abdul in 2 episodes. And then what is it? There's this other guy who's also a vampire that's hiding within like this stone wall that's able to make an illusion around him, so it makes it like a maze. But he gets instantly found by Iggy in the beginning of the episode. Um, right after this, Polnareff goes to the staircase to try to meet Dio. Dio and him go against back and back. He gets pushed back, and Joseph, Kakyoin, and Polnareff, Jotaro meet up with him. Quickly learn of Abdul and Iggy. They start hunting down Dio. They gotta do this quickly so there's still sunlight. They use the vampire prior to find out where he exactly is. But due to Dio's abilities, he's in the sarcophagus that Dio normally sleeps in. It gets switched out, where the minion is now in the sarcophagus. And we start Dio's world, which we quickly learn Dio's power is to stop time. And basically he's gaining more and more time every time he uses it and gets used to it. I don't know why he hasn't practiced this a lot more. I mean, Jojo probably would have caught on to it a little bit faster, but yeah. Probably just was too lazy to do anything once he gained the few seconds, maybe 3 or 4. But quickly he tries to hunt down the other two Joestar, all the other people during night, because now it's his realm in his hunting ground. He quickly goes after Kakyoin and Joseph, since he needs to get the blood from Joseph to make him and Jonathan's body completely intertwined to where he can call the body his. So he hunts him down. Polnareff tries to go after Dio because of Abdul and Iggy's death. Jotaro goes with him to make sure he doesn't do anything stupid. Kakyoin tries to see what the ability is, or just plan out end it by doing a 30 a 30 meter emerald splash, where he just intertwines the entire field around, like a field of vision around Dio with all his emerald splash, where he can't move. But due to the time stop ability, he's able to snap through it without the ability actually activating and killing Kakyoin. Kakyoin's last breath is to shoot a clock to give Joseph the hint that it's a time-based ability. And then Joseph runs toward the streets trying to get away and trying to find the rest. Runs into Jotaro, quickly tells him the secret of Dio's stand, and gets stabbed a bunch of times by knives, making him go unconscious. And then it's just back and forth between Dio and Jotaro. There's a part 3 now for I believe is this entire fight. And it's basically back and forth. Aha, I have superior abilities. No, you don't, because Jotaro can do main character hacks and plot armor by learning the exact ability that you have, and is able to move through your stopped time, and then in the end, to win the battle, gain the ability to stop time. And then else than his little injuries, like his finger and his toes from the coal ice, Polnareff is okay, but Kakyoin's body is taken from the Speedwagon to give back to the family to mourn. Abdul and Iggy, I believe, Elston, their spirit, I believe whatever's left of them is collected and probably given back to the family of Abdul. Probably bury Iggy somewhere. But after that, they return home. Suzy Q had a little bit of a background storyline where basically she was constantly trying to get a hold of Joseph, learns that Jotaro's with her, learns that something's up, heads for Japan to see what happens with her daughter, learns that she's sick and that she's in dire need of saving, and basically brings hope to her daughter in her last moments. And of course, after Dio's death, Holly's relieved of her stand. Joseph was sucked of his blood during the battle, which made Dio complete, which is weird. The fact that his, I understand, like his stand can work at 100%. That's why he's starting to gain more and more time faster, and he's gaining a more stronger ability, and he's gaining a lot better handle on his vampiric abilities. But his appearance is not supposed to be. But anyways, Jojo tells the Speedwagon Foundation to put Dio's blood that he stole from Joseph, so the Joestar blood back into Joseph to revive him, which works because his moment in the fight to stop his own heart, to stop Dio from hearing his heartbeat, he learns how to stop and move and recirculate blood in a heart. So Joseph was able to walk away, Born was able to walk away, and Jojo was able to walk away. They returned back to their homes and families. Joseph does ask Polnareff to come with him, even though France is Polnareff's home. He would like to have a friend, and know that he's safe. And then returned back to Holly's okay. Jojo can go back to his life, but he doesn't have a father still, and his friends that he gained within 2 months are gone. And basically, I believe this is the start of Jojo's journey of you can look up so many YouTube videos of just he has a mental problem now. He starts to grow with it, but it's just impossible to get out the funk that if anyone gets close or tries to help them, they are in immense danger, and that he needs to do everything he can, even throw his own life away, to protect him. Which, of course, part 6 is sadly the effects of that. But anyways, 42 minutes to go over part 3. Sorry if I missed some quick details. I was throwing a lot of these things down the throat, and people are like, you didn't spend enough time in this area. I explained most of the stands. I explained most of the things. I believe most of them have died or been beaten to where they are retired. That is basically what it is. And in one of my favorite comics, Jojo goes to talk to Giorno and basically explains, I always give myself a choice, and I try to not kill my enemies. I try to keep them alive, but to know that don't do shit like you were doing again. And it's unfortunate if I can't keep them alive. So killing people, losing his friends, and almost losing his mom and his grandpa laid really bad stuff. Not to mention, he probably also have like a world-ending scenario in his head when he thinks about it. So he's probably got a lot of nightmares about Dio actually winning. Anyways, that's it for part 3. I have to start watching part 4, which apparently is like the GOAT of JoJo for some reason. Some people prefer 5, but if you go to anything that is JoJo, the first thing is like part 4. Here's part 4 JoJo, here's this, here's that. And even their game, Over Heaven, I think it is, or something like that, instead of giving a part 6 or a part 5, which even though part 5 JoJo doesn't do much, part 6 has better abilities than part 4 and has better communication with most. But part 4 is so different from part 6 in the ways of personality. But anyways, it tells you that there's huge love for part 4, which I believe is just the fact that most of the characters are actually able to come out of it. That's probably why, because it's not a dire story like the first 3, where almost every legacy character is dead by the end of part 3. The only two people that actually are from like past are Suzuki, Joseph, and Jotaro. Jotaro's in the new face of JoJo's at this point, and into part 4, 5, and 6, he is like the mentor to pick up for his grandfather, who's still in part 4, and I think is mentioned in part 5, and maybe part 6, but he technically doesn't die, but he's so senile to do anything against like he used to in part 2 and 3. But that's basically what it is. It's just 17-year-old now has trauma. His mom probably is scared and understands her son's need for fucking um for some mental help. And then just Joseph needs to go talk to his wife eventually about part 4's Finch affair. And then Polnareff is another story where I believe in part 5 part 5 and 6 they mention that Jotaro and him do meet up a few times to pursue Dio and more stand arrows, but they don't. It seems like they should have been more connected, because if Polnareff was still in part 4 and 5, and Jotaro actually cared to follow Polnareff instead of splitting up, they could have stayed together. And Polnareff, I know Polnareff is in a bad condition by end of part 5, but yeah, you could have probably did a lot better for that. But anyways, I'll see you guys in the next video. Bye bye.